So far, we've been drawing a picture of the internet that includes a client and a server and a language. But we haven't really talked much about what it is that's actually being transferred back and forth. Right now, what you've created is pure content, or it's just a plain text file, right? So you've uploaded this plain text file without any code, but you've just got this plain text file and it just has words. And if you go to the URL of your domain, it'll download it and show it to you in a browser, and we've seen it. So this is just content. This is what we're after when we're using the internet. We usually don't care much about all the superfluous extra stuff. We don't really care what font is being used. We don't care what the code looks like. We don't care if it looks really pretty. Content is the core. Anything else is an additional layer that adds to the experience, but isn't necessarily essential to using the web. Your pages are actually good enough to communicate content to people right now, even though they're just plain text. But if we wanted to add another layer, we could use HTML code to give it some meaning. So HTML will give some structure and meaning to the content. It deals with the nouns of your web page. It just defines what the different things are, what noun they are. It says, this is a link. This is a header. It doesn't try to do anything more than just have that basic noun vocabulary to help give your communication of the content a little bit more meaning. CSS deals with the adjectives of the page. It deals with the way that it looks and feels. It describes not the content, not the nouns. It describes the style, or as we call it in the web development world, the presentation. It goes in and it doesn't actually hook directly into the content, but it hooks into the HTML, and it uses those different HTML tags which have defined different parts of the page, and it gives those different meaningful parts of the page specific ways of looking. So it can set the font, it can set the color, it can set the size and the shape. It can set anything that you've seen on a web page that looks a certain way. The way it looks is set with CSS. CSS has complete power over it. CSS is only concerned with these adjectives. We have to use verbs eventually, right? So when you see web pages that are interactive, that you can do things with, that's where JavaScript comes in. So JavaScript comes in and it makes the web page interactive. We make a distinction between static and dynamic web pages. A static web page would just be one without any scripts in it that doesn't interact or change. You load it, and no matter what you do, you can't change the page. The most you could do is highlight some text, and if you keep reloading it, it'll always be the exact same page unless the owner updates the page, right? So a dynamic page is one that you can interact with. Things move around. You can click on things. Games can be written in JavaScript. You can have applications that are written in JavaScript. And most web pages today are very interactive, and you make heavy use of JavaScript. JavaScript just deals with the verbs of that content. The last part is images and other media. So images and other media can be the content in and of themselves, but most of the time it's text that's the content, and you stitch in images, audio, video, and other media into the page, in the middle of the content as an enhancement to the content. The included media is actually a self-contained file, and you have to download that from the server as well and then stitch that into the content.